Hi friends, this is CC and welcome to Hobby Hands. In this vlog, we're going to turn this into this. Yes friends, we're going to do a build of the Hella 1/72 scale Super Puma AS 332M1. Model number is 80367. I've never built a Hella kit before, so very excited. Let's get started. Well friends, we're going to start with the interior cockpit parts, and we're going to build and paint this. So let's start. The interior is mostly grey. Two shades of grey actually, a dark and a light one. These are the seats. What I'm doing now is giving all the interior parts a gloss varnish to prepare for decals and also for panel line wash. As you can see, the decal sheet is really large. For the moment, we're just only going to use these three pieces here. As for the instrument panel, the decals are actually very colorful and quite detailed with the instruments and buttons and everything. So this is for this main dash. The decal is not going to fit on the dash because of the extra bits that stick out. I forgot to cut it off, so I'm cutting it now. Right, now the interior parts will be given a bit of panel line wash to give that light and shadow effect. And some details on the seats. Alright, so now the other thing I'm going to do is do a quick dry brush for the interior parts. This will bring out all the raised details. So just a bit of material on the dry brush and lightly brush over all the parts. Alright, all done. What I'm going to do now is to clean up the panel line wash now that it's dry. I'll do that with a cotton bud and some thinner. This bit here actually looks like it's a fire extinguisher. Alright, now the next step that I'm doing is to actually give all the interior parts a matte varnish. Okay friends, as you can see, parts are now ready to be assembled. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is to re-scribe the panel lines. It's got recessed panel lines, but they are not deep enough, and there are probably a couple of panel lines actually missing. I saw some images from the net and can see that I can add a couple more panel lines. So what I do is here I run the scriber through the panel line probably about 4 times, initially softly and then increasing the pressure as we go along. So the next step I'm going to do is to dip all the transparent pieces into floor polish like this. So dip it in, fully immerse it, shake off the excess liquid, and then with the remainder that's on the piece, just blot it off on a kitchen towel and then put it in a little covered box to dry. Now what I'm going to do here as well is put some weights in the front of the heli, and I'm going to put it into the little instrument panel, little box I guess that's empty, and I can fit some weights inside there. I'm not sure if this is going to be a tail heavy model or not, but just in case. And just a little bit of CA glue to hold the weights in that little cavity. Right, so the next thing we want to do is to now assemble the 2 halves of the fuselage together. But before we do that, we've got to put in all the windows, as that step there shows. So let's start doing that. So this is for this last window here. It's quite tight, this one. It's okay, it's snapped in, and we'll just put some glue to hold it, to make sure it stays in place. And I'll do it for the other side. This side fits really nicely. Alright, okay, now we've put all the windows in. What we're going to do next is put in the cockpit into the heli. We'll just put glue on some landing points. And on the cockpit tub. Pretty tight fit, this little trapdoor thing at the bottom of the cockpit tub. Now this is the door that leads from the cockpit to the maybe the passenger side or the cargo side of the heli. We put the two halves together. We got to fit in this, which is the main rotor shaft. We fit, and also the rotor shaft for the tail rotor. Let's put the parts together. The back of the heli has actually got a little round observation window. I'll show you that at the end as we go along. First, I'm going to put some glue on the interior bits to stick the interior bits together first. Carefully align it. Very nice fit. Now cement the two halves together. And we'll hold it with some masking tape. Use a peg to hold the tail. Okay, done. Now the mold cement has cured. It's time to look at the where the two halves join together, and then use putty to try and get rid of the joint line. Alright, the putty has now dried, so it's time to sand away at the joints, and hopefully we've done enough puttying and then the joint marks will disappear. So this first sanding stick that I'm using is a 600 grit, and it will take out most of the material. This is also a 600 grit sanding stick, just a smaller one. Okay, it feels quite smooth. So the next sanding stick that I'm using here is a 800 grit. This one is a 2000 grit. And very last is a 6000 grit. Alright, we've done all the sanding for the whole heli, and what we need to do now is to mask off the clear pieces as we prepare for paint. That includes that clear door there. There's two of them. I use a little toothpick to push out all the little air bubbles. When done, when I'm happy with it, I'm going to use a very sharp blade and cut away the masking tape bits that I don't want. So I'll cut along the window line and remove those bits, and then do a use the toothpick to go through another time to push out all the air bubbles. I'm going to show you now is the clear door piece. I'm showing you that I'm actually just going to mask off the window part of that door. So there's two windows per clear door, and there's two of those clear doors. Same thing, toothpick to push out the bubbles, and then very sharp blade to remove the parts of the masking tape that I don't want. Right, let's get ready for painting now. As you can see, I've also masked the front canopy and the sliding doors. That's for the door on the LED. So the first thing we're going to do is put the instrument panel into the canopy. It's like a roof instrument panel. Alright, and we're now going to assemble the two doors. The fit is not bad. And we're going to now also assemble the front canopy or windscreen, if you like. Again, the fit is actually pretty good. Hardly any gaps. If anything, some of the parts may be a bit snug. Alright, so what I'm firstly going to do here is to paint the clear framework with the interior color of the heli, in this case some sort of a light grey. Alright, and now I'm starting to do the camouflage for the fuselage. The first color that I'm spraying is the black color. I like to start with a darker color if I want the final heli to look a bit lighter. because sometimes the overspray of the darker colors can actually tend to make the heli look a bit darker. I do the camouflage by hand actually. I don't use masking for that job, except in certain cases I do use masking when it's got to be a straight line. Alright, as you can see, I've actually also done the other camouflage color of brown, and I'm on the final camouflage color of light green. Again, I do that by hand. I lower the air pressure down and I close the needle valve of the airbrush so that only minimal material comes out. That way I don't get a lot of overspray. Alright, now all the camouflage colors have gone in. I'm giving the whole aircraft a clear varnish. To prepare for decals and also for panel line wash. There you go, the aircraft has now got a nice glossy finish, and so we're going to do the panel line wash now. I use a dark panel line wash for most of the aircraft, and if we've got black paint work like that, I use a light grey panel line wash. Where the panel lines come out. It's not a lot of panel lines. Even the rotor blades get a bit of panel line wash. And this is the grey wash for the black coloured areas, or very dark coloured areas. That's actually a very dark green, not a black. Okay, so now the next step that I'm going to do is to clean up the smudges from the panel line wash, and I do that with some cotton buds and thinner. Time for decals. So you can see, huge decal sheet. The line at the top is for the common decals, and the second lot is the version A, which is for the French Army, and the bottom one is for the Swiss, I'm not sure, Army or Air Force. So what we are going to use is the French version with the camouflage that I've used. So just show you this little decal up front here, and I'll do the rest off camera. The decals are actually not bad. So what I'm doing here is giving the whole aircraft a clear varnish to protect the decals. Alright, so now do a bit of a dry brush. Just a tiny bit of dry brushing, especially in the darker, darker colored models like this. It makes the edges stand out. And this model has got a lot of little edges that can't be seen because of the camouflage colors. I use a very light gray paint for the dry brushing. So remove most of the material on the kitchen towel and then brush it lightly onto the model. Done. So now what we're doing here is giving the whole model a matte varnish. So the model will be in the final matte finish. There we go. So as you can see, all the parts have been given the matte varnish and the model can be put together for final presentation. So the first thing that I'm doing here is doing the landing gear now. First I'm gluing the wheels onto the landing gear strut. Okay, I found that the parts of the landing gear struts actually a bit big for the holes on the fuselage, so I had to use a little hand drill and open up the hole a bit. Okay, now that the landing gear strut is in, that's the main landing gear strut, I'm going to now put on this little cowling, or is it a sponson? Like that. So all put together now except for the rotor blades, and in this step we're going to now assemble the rotor blades. As you can see, there's some little decals on the bottom of the rotor blade, give it that little strappy effect. Okay, I've put together 3 of the blades already, and now going to put in the last one. So you can see the blades actually assembled quite straight. Seems to be very well aligned. Okay, done. Like that, see, it's very well aligned. So now time to put on the tail rotor blades. Okay, done. There you go, just wait for it to dry. Okay friends, our Super Puma is now complete. So next thing, the last step that we're going to do is to remove the window masking. And we do that very carefully with a sharp knife and some tweezers. So the window on that main or that big transparent door, I've actually got to cut along the edge of the window because there is actually one large piece of decal that attached to the door, and parts of the decal are actually covering the window masking. So I don't want to destroy, or I don't want to damage the decal as I take off the masking tape. So the best thing to do is to cut with a sharp knife along the edges of the window, and I can remove the masking tape together with the decal on top, like that. Nice. Alright, let's show you a bit of the masking on the front windshield. Okay friends, the Super Puma is now complete. Masking has all come off. Shiny windows. There's a little observation window, like I said, at the back, bottom of the heli. That's also very shiny. Quite happy with the results. The main rotor blade turns. And so there's the tail rotor blade. So final thoughts on this aircraft. Most of the parts fitted well, but a few pieces were actually either too snug or just didn't fit, such as the rotor blade. Yeah, didn't match correctly with the other part of the rotor blade. I had to do some cutting. So the bits for the main landing gear were also a little bit snug. I had to open up the hole a little bit. The exhaust, quite disappointed with this one. So the exhaust is actually molded onto the fuselage, so I have had to just paint that exhaust rather than actually build the exhaust, because I've seen some other kits with the pipe actually coming out and it looks better. Same with this exhaust at the back. It's just a painted on exhaust and looks a bit two-dimensional. Other than that, it builds up into a lovely model. It's the front of the heli, the tail of the heli. Looks well aligned and straight. Another challenging part that I need to tell you is I actually had to paint the window frames one by one by hand. And that door here, which was actually a clear piece, had one massive decal. So in hindsight, I should have probably cut the window part of the decal out. Anyway, it still turned out nice. So friends, I hope you enjoyed that vlog. Please subscribe to my channel and please give me a like. And as always, thank you very much for watching.